Hey, Alex, you know what time it is?
I hope it's time for a dead end. I could use
It is. I see the sign just ahead. And you know what I like to do when I see that sign? I would just keep driving. Just keep.
Oh,
Yeah.
dead end is a better sign than no outlet. I'm seeing too many no outlet signs these days. Is dead end not politically correct to say dead end anymore? Why do we see so many no outlet signs?
It's the no outlet lobby. They're really lobbying for that as a phrase. No, I mean, dead end just kind of like encompasses not only the fact that you can't get back, but that it once existed, right? It's about a celebration of the once existed.
I don't think a non-driver would even know what no outlet means.
No,
Even a driver, you'd have to explain the first time you see one.
yeah.
I
What
think
does that
everyone knows
mean?
what dead end means.
Dead end. Yeah, it's a lot more literal and visceral and primitive. You know,
And it makes me not want to go there.
right? But it makes me want to just drive right through that sign and just keep on going.
Thelma and Louise style.
I got a question for you. Have you ever read the book "The Little Bunny Follows His Nose"?
Oh,
No,
no.
1971
that.
classic. Like
Seems like something I would like.
your mom didn't read it to you, or the little bunny.
No.
Well, there was something kind of unique about this book. The Little Bunny Follows His Nose. Little bunny kind of goes out on a little adventure, goes out of the house or his little bunny house into the garden, and what's that? Oh, strawberries. And then he goes over. What's that? Carrots. Oh, there's a rose. Oh, dog poop. Ugh. The Little Bunny Follows His Nose was the very first scratch-and-sniff book.
Oh, now I did mess with some scratch and sniff books back in the day.
Yeah, they had the books, they had the stickers, and I mean, what did you think about scratch-and-sniff in 1971?
I have a scratch and sniff book not 15 feet from me right now.
You have kind of everything not 15 feet from you.
You have no idea how right you are about that. In our Christmas stuff, which is in a closet in the next room, I have a Christmas scratch and sniff that still scratches and sniffs.
What are some smells of a Christmas?
Well, there's a nice apple pie one.
Oh, okay.
There's one that smells like a Christmas tree. It's a green thing. And it still smells every year. There's one that smells like hot chocolate. Okay. There's one that smells like, I think there's a candy cane one.
Yeah.
I love that book, man.
What do you think is the most accurate of those? Which one smells the most real?
The hot chocolate one gives me all the feels.
Really?
I mean, they're all really accurate.
Okay.
But the hot chocolate one's my favorite.
Okay. Well,
it's more accurate than if I break open a packet of Swiss Miss and dip my nose in it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it's really.
When was that book made, do you think?
Probably early 70s,
80s.
Not 80s. Come on, man.
Today we're talking about scratch and sniff. We're talking about the books, the stickers, the everything else that went with it.
Absolutely here for that.
So do you know how it works?
No, but I would love to know.
Scratch and sniff was originally invented by a guy named Wilhelm Haarman, Haarman, Wilhelm. And this was like in the early 1900s. He was trying to add essential oils to add fragrance to paper. So he was trying to come up with paper that lovers could use to send to each other, and the paper would be scented. Because
people would like spray perfume on paper.
Yeah, but he wanted something a little more rugged and something that maybe didn't smell as it was going through the post, but was activated by touch. So as you read it, you would start to smell it. Well, this idea didn't really take off. You know, he was kind of ahead of his time. But then a guy named Gail Matson, and back in the day, there were a lot of guys named Gail.
Yeah, I'm not hating on that name.
A lot of guys named Gene.
Sure.
A lot of guys named Kelly back in the day.
I mean, I was going to say, come on now.
So Gail Matson worked for this company called 3M. You ever heard of them?
Of course.
Yeah. You know what it stands for?
I don't think I ever
Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing.
Okay.
They were
I know
a
they're big in
technology company.
Minneapolis, yeah.
Yeah, it's their headquarters, Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing. But they kind of got to be known for chemicals and glues and papers and, like what are those things?
Post-it notes.
Command strips, right?
Post-it notes.
Well, in 1970s, Gail Matson was looking for a way to incorporate some more of their sticky technology on stickers, do something innovative. And he came across the work of Wilhelm Harman, and he was intrigued. So he started playing with this, and he came up with this thing that is actually not specific to scratch and sniff, but it was perfect for it. It's called microencapsulation. It's kind of like when you ride in the trunk of a car to go to a drive-in. Microencapsulation.
Yeah, it kind of is.
So what microencapsulation would do is it would use a chemical process to take some sort of sticky agent that would harden, but this agent was also fragile, and it would have these little tiny bubbles in it, and you would mix in smells. So you would mix in the scent of, say, hot chocolate or a Christmas tree or the little bunny's unfortunate encounter with dog poop. Whatever. You'd mix the smell in, and it would form these little tiny bubbles that, when scratched, would break, and they would release the scent.
And those smells would come from oils.
Yeah, from
right?
essential
Just
oils.
Yeah.
Well, actually, yes. You can actually DIY scratch and sniffs today, and you know what they recommend as the number one source for the smells if you DIY it?
What's that?
Jello packets, powdered Jello. Because you can do, they already smell like whatever. They already smell like, and they're the right size, the powder. So, but yes, essential oils were the fragrances that were used by both Wilhelm back in the early 20th century as well as Gail in the 70s. And this thing kind of took off. The little bunny that follows his nose was a big hit in 1971. You can still buy it on Amazon today. Affiliate link below. And people were kind of going crazy for this technology, not only in books, but also on stickers. And you can still buy scratch and sniff stickers today. That's not out of bounds. They still exist. They're just not as popular as they were.
I wonder why. So one thing a phone can't do is emit smells. I mean, not on command.
Can emit noises that sound like smells.
It's one thing that your phone really can't do.
Yeah. This was technology. You say that your book still works, the one that's like 15 feet away from you and is 30 or 40 years old.
50 years old.
But I guess it depended on two things, but usually they would last about 6 months. That was kind of the lifespan of these. And maybe I'm thinking more of the stickers than the books. Because a book is closed, and those micro capsules are probably protected.
And I haven't scratched every part of that strip. So the strip is probably the strip. You can see the parts that I've scratched, right?
Yeah.
The strip is probably about 3 or 4 inches long, about an inch and a half tall.
Okay.
Right? And you can see the parts I've scratched, and I have tiny thumbs. so when I scratch it, I can see the parts that I haven't scratched yet. Those parts haven't been activated.
It's a very fine little line. But yeah, so maybe if you were a more active user of that book, it might have only lasted 6 months. But you've been very careful using your tiny thumbs to just scratch specific parts. Kind of like a little scratch and sniff gnome.
Yeah.
In the garden. So in addition, you kind of mentioned about the phone not being able to do this. Well, actually, now this is not exactly scratch and sniff, but this is kind of tangential to it. There was a thing that came out in the late 70s called smell-o-vision.
I was just going to ask you if you remember smell-o-vision.
Yeah. Now,
you get a card, and it would have a number on it, right?
No. Okay. So hold on, you're jumping ahead a little bit. That was the 80s. That was the upgraded version. Smell-o-vision actually had little tanks of what is it called? Aerosol. It was aerosol tanks, and this the smells were aerosol tanks, and they would come out at the right moment. So if you were watching a movie with a horse, you might get the smell of a horse.
Come out of what? You buy a console?
No. I'm talking about in the theater. In the theater, they set these little they set up these little aerosol tanks to blow out smells during certain parts of the movie.
So it sounds like television, but it was actually in the movies.
It was in the movies, yeah. Smell-o-vision. Smell-o-vision. So you could see a movie now showing in smell-o-vision. I don't know if that would have worked at the drive-in because you were in your car. You'd have to have your window down, or maybe you'd have a little aerosol.
RCA would have to come up with a different device.
Yeah. But the problem was these aerosol tanks that would blow it out. In order to blow enough out for the entire audience to smell it, they had to go for 30 seconds. Right. And it was very loud. It sounded like a wind tunnel. And they basically thought the hissing noise was distracting, and people complained.
Plus, that smell would then mask the next smell. You wouldn't be able to clear it out in time, probably.
Well, you had to be strategic with how often you did it, right? I mean, you couldn't do it. You couldn't constantly be doing it. You had to let one go away.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, were there any famous movies that had this technology?
So the original Smell-O-Vision was introduced in 1939 at the World's Fair. So that might have been a little bit predating this. Scent of Mystery, that was one.
See, that just sounds so gimmicky. Like that's the whole reason to have the movie.
Right. It was kind of like when you do a 3D movie and all you do is like 3D gags throughout the whole thing. Scent of Mystery. There was one called Digital Lollipop.
I'm not a fan of the 3D, by the way.
Yeah.
Never have been.
Yeah. Well, so a good friend of ours is a big fan of a certain very crass director.
John Waters.
John Waters. Do you remember 1981 came out with a movie in Smell-O-Vision?
Right. And that's the one where you get the card.
Yes.
And the number would come up on the screen and you would scratch and smell. Absolutely. But they were never good smells.
It was polyester.
Yes.
It was polyester.
They were never good smells.
With Divine, if you remember Divine.
Yep.
Yeah, that was not one. I think you can actually on eBay still buy the cards that were used for the film polyester.
If you stream that movie, do the numbers still come up?
That's a good question. I don't know. That might be a good.
Suck to get the card and then you can't find a copy of the movie that has the numbers.
So I never did that experience, but
I feel like
you'd hope there'd be like a little picture or something that tells you.
No, it was a surprise.
So it was just a number and you didn't know what it was. No, like now scratch number 2.
I'm sure I did this. I think I did.
Well, you know what number 2 was.
Theater. I think I did this at the Dolby Theater in Austin.
Okay.
And I think what would happen, if I remember this right, a scene would start and you would scratch it and then Divine would be like, ugh, what's that smell? But you would be ahead of Divine on that. Like you would have smelled it before she did. And so it was never obvious what you were about to smell. It was always a surprise. I think.
Okay, so they didn't wait till the scene developed. It was before the scene.
And like I said, most of the smells were disgusting.
Yeah,
I think the first couple were nice, and he'd come on. John Waters came on at the beginning of the film and said, "You were proud to present this movie," and I think they called it Smell-O-Vision too.
They called it Odorama.
Odorama, yeah.
They called it Odorama.
And then, of course, it went off the rails.
Copyright, copyright issues with Smell-O-Vision.
Yeah, there was some
competing.
Really
they were competing. It was like American Bandstand and Soul Train.
Odorama, man, good times.
Yeah, well, that's scratch and sniff. Like I said, you can still you can actually Google DIY scratch and sniff and find what printer you need. Basically, what I saw was that as long as your printer can print on cardstock, you're good. And then you just need some powdered Jell-O to mix in for the smells. And I guess if you want to get creative and powder other stuff, but whatever it is, it needs to be a fine powder.
Listen to me. If you're out there and you're writing children's books, There is no reason that this technology needs to die. Let's bring it back. Kids today would love that.
I just heard about Trevor Noah wrote a children's book called like Into the Garden or Into the Backyard or something like that, which sounds a lot like The Little Bunny Follows His Nose.
Is it Scratch and Sniff?
No, Trevor.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Fellow podcaster.
I thought you were innovative. Yeah. What's up with that? Well, I hope everyone enjoyed this little trip down memory lane about scratch and sniff technology. And let's, it still exists, but I think it's barely hanging on. I think it's
bring it back, Kelly.
I think this is one of those rare instances where actually it should come back because you know what you said earlier, the phone can't do that.
I think when you come up to something that the phone can't do, you got to grab onto that.
Yes.
Maybe we should come up with a scratch and sniff book in tribute of all the different episodes that we've done.
And it smells like something from the episode,
exactly.
like Tesla would smell like pigeon, or Henry VIII would smell like a big turkey leg.
Yeah, and Mr. Rogers would smell like his gym shoes.
Open a book, feel the paper. Reality dissolves in a vapor. Sense of childhood coming alive. Inside my mind, the memories thrive. Stickers on a page burst with smell. Every sniff a story to tell. Fruity fields in candy land. Scratch and sniff under my hand. Stickers on a page burst with smell. Every sniff a story to tell. Fruity fields in candy land. Scratch and sniff under my hand. Scratch the surface, find the scent. Back to the days where the time was spent. Stuck in my head like a perfect riff. Life in a scratch and a sniff. Nostalgia waves crashing shores. Open the pages, find the doors. Pine trees, peppermint, lemon drops, bubblegum skies and soda pops. Hidden smells in plastic squares. Escapism beyond compare. Simple joys and subtle thrills. Scratch and sniff to cure the ills. Scratch the surface, find the scent. Back to the days where the time was spent. Stuck in my head like a perfect riff. Life in a scratch and a sniff. Nostalgia